Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I would like to talk about PlayStation 5 Pro and whether or not we're still going to see some 30 frames per second games on that console. But before we do, let's check Iniba.com. They offer games for Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo and PC, and as always they've got a ton of games on sale like Space Marine 2, a Warhammer 40k Space Marine, great game by the way. So let's check it out, and obviously you've got these things over here, and well, there's Dark Tide 2, that's Warhammer. By the way, Warhammer, the anniversary edition is still here for PC, I think. So let's actually see this one. That's for PC, 46 euros. That's not too bad. So let's go with this one. And as always, we can add more games to the cart if you want, but let's proceed to the checkout for now, and all you have to do now is just select a payment of your choice, and that's it, you're done. So guys, you will find the link in the description of this video to Iniba.com. Check it out. Alright guys, I'm back. So let's talk about PlayStation 5 Pro. So there's this controversy going around the internet right now surrounding 30 frames per second games on that console. Obviously there's two camps, right? There's people saying that PlayStation 5 Pro is going to be 4K 60 frames per second console finally, while there's some people saying that there's still going to be some 30 frames per second games on that console. So how is it going to be? Well, I'm in that second camp, meaning that I believe that there's still going to be some 30 frames per second games, because PlayStation 5 Pro doesn't really bring any improvements, technically speaking, to the CPU processing, right? Meaning that PlayStation 5 Pro comes with pretty much the same CPU, Zen 2 based, 8 cores, 16 threads, the Zen 2 CPU, right? So yeah, I mean, I know that Zen 2 was a great CPU, and it was a big improvement over PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Pro, but it's like 5 years old now, maybe even more, I think, right? So generally speaking, what I'm trying to say is that when it comes to proper next-gen games, and we actually see more and more of these games now, yeah, there's still unfortunately going to be some 30 frames per second games even on PlayStation 5 Pro. Yes, PlayStation 5 Pro will deliver much better visual experience, right? And much better graphics performance, right? I mean, the GPU in that console is going to be much more powerful and capable than PlayStation 5 standard console's GPU, right? There's no argument about that. I mean, and obviously you can read it in a kind of like, I guess, different way depending on where you sit, but like, some people focus on teraflops, other people focus on the PSSR, so PlayStation Super Resolution, right? And other people look at the memory improvements, ray tracing improvements, and that kind of stuff. But generally speaking, PlayStation and Mark Cerny himself did confirm that this console is going to offer around like 45 to 50% improvement in rendering performance. But like I said, like when it comes to modes like ray tracing modes and stuff, you may actually see much bigger performance delta between PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 Pro, because like PlayStation 5 Pro is going to be way more capable on that front. Well, rumors suggest that the ray tracing support, the ray tracing tech in PlayStation 5 Pro may deliver like 3 times the performance. But we're talking about ray tracing performance, not necessarily frames per second. But any ray tracing work, that processing that PlayStation will have to do, well, PlayStation 5 Pro will be able to calculate all these rays and everything 3 times faster, right? Which means that these games will, run faster. However, again, we are going back to the whole CPU thing. Ray tracing requires CPU, right? So obviously, the more you calculate, I guess, the more demanding that processing will be on the CPU as well. So CPU will have to handle all these draw calls and whatever. I mean, I'm not really sure what CPU is responsible for when it comes to ray tracing per se, but all I'm trying to say is that PlayStation 5 Pro is really more about the GPU grunt, right? Better graphics, and games that were already 60 will still be 60, but will offer much higher resolution and better graphics, maybe if developers will care to deliver better visuals, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all about, it's all in developers' hands, if you know what I mean. So we'll see. We'll have to wait and see at the end of the day. But will there be 30 frames per second games on PlayStation 5 Pro? I still believe that. Because in a scenario, in a game that is going to be very CPU demanding, like big open world, like GTA 6, for example, there's already leaks suggesting, rumors suggesting, and some like Digital Foundry analysis, I think, there was one, I think, claiming that GTA 6 is probably going to be 30 frames per second game locked on consoles, right? And if there's not going to be any performance modes because CPU is not powerful enough to push these 60 frames per second on all these next-gen consoles, meaning PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X. I mean, if these won't do that, if these won't be capable of doing that, PlayStation 5 Pro won't be able to do that either, because PlayStation 5 Pro will release with pretty much the same CPU. So if the bottleneck is going to be on the CPU side of things, nothing will change for PlayStation 5 Pro, right? So on top of that, there's always some games that may not be greatly optimized. I mean, when it comes to games that suffer from, GPU heavy kind of processing and drop frames, then yes, GPU, that PlayStation 5 Pro GPU will help for sure. Memory bandwidth, faster memory bandwidth will help a little bit as well. But yeah, there will be still some 30 frames per second games. And if we, for example, I guess a good example here also would be Dragon's Dogma. I mean, I know that Capcom currently is working on some extra CPU optimization, and listen to what they say. I mean, read what they say. They, in their latest update to the community, I don't think that update is already there, but they are working on an update that will basically improve CPU performance, right? Because that game was heavily limited by CPU. So that kind of game, if it runs at 30, 40 frames per second on PlayStation 5, you will get similar results on PlayStation 5 Pro. The resolution is just going to be better, right? That's pretty much it. So I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because let's face it, I mean, people complain about, those few 30 frames per second games here and there, but genuinely speaking, I mean, I don't have any data in front of me, but I think Digital Foundry a couple of weeks ago said that more than 80 or 90% games coming out right now for consoles offer some form of performance mode. Sometimes these performance modes may, have some frame drops here and there. I mean, even Warhammer 40K, that is, by the way, great game. If you haven't really play that game, check it out. So Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, it's out now, and that game is not holding 60 frames per second all the time, even in performance modes, right? So for example, PlayStation 5 Pro will not do much for these type of games because, you know, for the most part, the game is CPU heavy as well. There's like a lot of enemies on the screen, like all these, you know, kind of you know, alien creatures kind of attacking you. I mean, that's a lot of CPU work there, right, to handle that. So yeah, I mean, yeah, you may see a little bit better performance here and there thanks to, because I think the frame drops there is combination of both CPU and GPU limitations. So on PlayStation 5 Pro, that game may actually run maybe closer to Xbox Series X performance, because that game actually runs better on Xbox because it's better optimized apparently. But yeah, listen, 30 frames per second on consoles are here to stay. That's not going to be a new standard, by the way. I don't think that's going to happen. Look at all these games. They all offer, I mean, most of them offer performance modes, but you will always get some games here and there with 30 frames per second lock, because developers basically focused on 30 frames per second as a standard for that particular game, and sometimes they do add these performance modes. That's an interesting also topic, because Digital Foundry recently suggested that Final Fantasy 16 is really a 30 frames per second game at its core, but then with just performance mode added at the later stage, just to please some people, just allow some people to play at 60 frames per second. Not stable, of course, because it's dropping frames, and obviously they had to make a lot of cuts when it comes to graphics, but hey, performance mode is there, right? So we'll see, guys. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, it's not a major issue really, like few games here and there. You know, generally speaking, if you really want to have a 60 frames per second performance all the way through all the games, for the most part, PC is there for you. But if you are just a console gamer, you want to chill at the couch playing in front of your TV, sure, you can do that with PC, but that's not very convenient, I would say, right? So just stick to consoles, and whether or not you think PlayStation 5 Pro is for you and it's worth its money, I guess it's up to you to decide, right? It's your money at the end of the day. But I'm still curious to learn more about this console, especially about the PSSR technology, so the machine learning based upscaling technology. We'll see what that does read to the games. So looking forward to first test, looking forward to some Digital Foundry comparisons between PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 Pro games. And also there's talk about older games boost mode as well, so we'll see what that brings. So guys, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about it. Are you buying PlayStation 5 Pro at all? Are you interested? Are you going to wait for a sale or something? Let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.